Holy cow. This is more brighter than Muskrat Jamboree. Howie, what's going on? We don't get these at the Jamboree. Holy smokes. But anyways, my name is Gerry. I'm from Inuvik. I was actually born out in the Mackenzie Delta so many winters ago. I'm not sure if any of you guys ever mushed a dog team before. Any of you? Few of you? Number of you? Oh, I know, yeah, some of our relatives and that, yeah. Right on. Well, I think I was on the back of a dog team at about 3 years of age. I was born out on my father's trap line. We were trapping the muskrats in the spring of the year. Usually start March the 1st, and the traps are going until pretty well the end of April. Sometimes, depending on the weather, they might be trapping the muskrats, until the first week or so in May. But anyways, 3 years of age, we're sitting out on the trap line out there. It's 40 miles just that side of a Clavik over there. So if you know where a Clavik is, it's right over there. So 40 miles that side is where I was born, where I spent the first couple of years of my life until the government of Canada built this community, and then a lot of us moved here. But on the trap line, 3 years of age, my father, my mother, my sister, and I were going to go and check the traps. We had a line, probably 50, 60 traps, I guess, behind the house. And I wouldn't get in the toboggan with my mother and my sister because I just wouldn't get in the toboggan with them. So my father says, well, we can't just leave you here in the camp. You have to get in the toboggan because we got to go and check the traps. There's nobody at home here. Well, maybe somebody should give me a dog so I could have my own dog team. That's when I started driving my own dog team. He put an old leader on one of them little toboggans, those little 6-foot ones, got a little carrier on it and little lazy back on it. And he put that old leader on there, put a number of traps in the front of that little toboggan, and put me on the back of that toboggan, and away I went. They caught up to me about 4 hours later. Yeah, I was way out there in the trap line, minding my own, doing my own thing. I had my dog, one of my best friends in the whole world, and myself, and a couple of more traps for my father to set maybe later on during the day. And that was one of my first excursions with the dog team. A little bit later on in life, I got a few jobs. I used to work with Mr. Butters down at the local newspaper here in Inuvik, and I used to run that Gestetner and go like that and help him with making the newspapers and so on. And I eventually got some work with the Inuvik Research Laboratory here. Dick Hill was our first mayor, and he was the one that was looking after a lot of that stuff. So I got a job with them guys, and eventually I saved up couple of $100, and I went and saw my friend George, and I bought 4 dogs from him, $25 a dog. I think I was 12 or 13 years old. I was out using somebody's toboggan that winter. My dad got me a leader from one of his friends because he owed him a little bit of money, I guess. I don't know, maybe very possible it was from a poker game, William? It's very possible. So he owed him a little bit of something, so I ended up with a leader, and that leader's name was Vic, and my father's name was Vic. So, and then I had 5 dogs all together, all in that one line like that. That's how we used to run them here. Later on, you see a lot of dog teams nowadays, they run them in what they call the gnome hitch, 2 at a time. But ours used to be that one with those, sometimes we had leather harnesses, sometimes we had the harnesses made out of canvas or that webbing. A lot of times we made homemade collars, just like the horses use, and stuff them with straw or grass and moose skin and make our own collars. And we used to go and I used to head out to the Delta. I had 5 dogs. My leader was was Vic. My middle dog was Buck. I got a cousin named Buck. I'll tell you about him later. And my wheel dog's name was Blade. I had a really big black dog. His name was Blade. I had two other filler-uppers in the middle. For the life of me, I forgot their names, but one of these times I'll remember them because we were probably the hardest workers I had. But anyways, I used to go out to the Delta and I used to finish school at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. In them days, we went to school from 9 o'clock in the morning. I think it was like right till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So my mother would be working, whether she was doing all the volunteer work that she's ever done in her life, whether she's going to meetings in Ottawa or Yellowknife with a Native woman or something, or my father working. He used to work with the Canadian Armed Forces, was a bus driver for them. So I think they used to finish at about 4:30 or 6:30 at night or something like that. But shortly after 4, I used to go out and take my toboggan. Before I had that really nice toboggan, I borrowed a toboggan from one of my friends, so it was like about an 8-foot toboggan, and I tried to become a trapper, but it didn't quite work out. But I was down here, just down from Inuvik, about 6-7 miles, and I had a snare line for rabbits, and gee whiz, I had that snare. I think the rabbits were jumping right through. That snare was so large, they were jumping right through. And one day I went out and I checked my snare line, and I got a link. Yeah, so I brought that link home, and my grandmother skinned that link for me and stretched it all out, cleaned it all up for me, and a few days later I took it down to Semler. I don't know if any of you still remember some of the stories from L.F. Semler store. Well, that Semler is my mother's uncle. So I took that link down there, and he said, Muskrat, he said, how much you want for that link? Oh, I don't know, a couple of $100 probably. I'll give you $10. Oh, right on. He said, what do you want to buy with it? I said, I wanted to buy a toboggan. I got lots of toboggans out in the back. He said, go and check them out. So I found one, an 8-foot toboggan. At the time, I was about 13 years old probably, because I went to the dog race at 14. We had, that was the centennial year, right? For Canada or something, 1967. I went in the dog team race. It was about 60 miles long. It took me about 60 hours to go around the whole thing. But I made the whole trip anyways. But Semler sold me that toboggan, $10 down payment. And I had to pay the rest of the $90. I had to sell lots of newspapers working for Mr. Butters. And I used to go up on top of the hill over here at Hidden Lake, and I used to change that camera because it was taking a picture of the sky every hour. So every day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I used to go there, except Friday. In the wintertime, I used to go catch my dog team and go out to the Delta. And I used to leave shortly after 4, right from up here at Co-op Hill. William and I were Co-op Hill kids. My sister Shirley and them over there were all Co-op Hill kids. I left my house at Co-op Hill with my 5 dogs going down the road, and I went down a little ways, and then I used to turn in front of Nanox Harris and go down that. We show off my dog team. I had 5 dogs. I was 13 years old. Heck, not many kids at 13 even had 1 dog. Heck, I had 5 of them. I went down the hill like that, down by Auntie Emma's and right beside Froggy, down the hill and across Twin Lakes, across East Channel and the Mackenzie River, out onto Big Lake. Heck, that took 2 hours just to get there. And I was trying to get out of town. But once I got across Big Lake and then over to Semler's Big Lake, and then I came out of Semler's over there beside Father's, out on Oniak Channel. But beside Father's, I went across to the Mackenzie River. This is my trip. This is my whole weekend. This is my whole life pretty well. Went across the Mackenzie River over to Ishmael and Ruth's, right over here. Angus Alunik is his mom and dad, yeah, right over here. So I stopped there. That's probably about 16 miles out. My first stop in the evening. and probably have a cup of tea, maybe some bannock or something, and maybe have some lunch with him. And then from there, I just go down probably about another 4 or 5 miles, go down to my dad at little Jim's place in Maggie and spend the night there. And I always went to visit Inuvik. I don't know if any of you know Inuvik, but he's that fiddle player, James Rogers. You might have seen James at a lot of our events in Inuvik. That guy can make those instruments talk. He used to listen to the radio. And boy, that Skeeter Davis sounds pretty darn good when Inuvik was playing that guitar, boy. And I used to go out there because I wanted also to learn how to play a guitar. I was 13 years old. When I was 12 years old, my father and my mother and my sister, my baby sister, they were down in Edmonton, and my mother bought me a guitar, little Stella guitar. Just a small little one, not even any longer than my arm, I think. And I used to take that with me every once in a while, not all the time. I used to put it in my eiderdown, and my toboggan I bought from Sumner, and those 4 dogs I bought from George, and that other dog that my dad got from his friend because he owed him a little bit of something. So I went out in the Delta, and I tied my dog team to that stage, you know, the legs on the stage. You know those stages? They used to put a stage so that they could put the food on top, high on the ground, like about 6 feet off the ground, so that the wolverine and that don't get at them. And they put stovepipes on the posts, dug into the ground. Well, I used to tie my dogs there, and there they are. They're all strung right out. And Inuvik says, "We still remember you coming in. We could hear you long ways away, really driving your dogs, yelling at them probably." And as soon as you come into the camp, he said, you used to just tie that headline on that rope, on that stage, that leg on that stage, go inside, have a cup of tea, and pick up a guitar and start trying to learn how to play guitar all night long. My dogs didn't even eat, I don't think. I played guitar with them all night long. The next morning, sometimes we used to get up at about 5 o'clock because my dad at Little Jim, he was a trapper. He used to go out to his trap line, and them days, I mean, even though it's 40 below or 35 below, he still had to make a living. So he used to go out to his trap line sometimes at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got up one time with him at 5, full moon outside. What a beautiful morning. He left right afterwards. I had what was left in that little pot of coffee. I had probably a little 6-cup pot of coffee, you know, and I had that. And then he left in one direction, I went in the other direction. I headed back out to the Mackenzie River itself, the one we call the Middle Channel, and I went over to Sweeney's place. Sweeney, God bless his soul, he's gone now, but Laha, we used to call him Laha because he made the best tea in the world, that guy, better than Salada, better than Red Rose. He made the best tea. Anytime we went to Sweeney's, he used to just say, "If you're hungry, have tea." So, okay, we had tea. So I stopped my dogs, had some lunch, and had some tea with Sweeney, and then I went back through the trails. Just imagine, I was 13 years old, I think, that time. I went back through the trails, over to my Uncle Roy Allen's, who's over there. He's gone now, too. But I went over there to his place, and then from there, I went down the river over to Sandy and Effie's. They were over there, and I used to show up there, and especially in the first time in the fall, you know, we'll be able to cross the Mackenzie probably the first week, or maybe the second week in November. By then, they used to have their dog team trails already going through the Delta. So I showed up at Uncle Sandy's probably the first time of that season, pretty close to the end of November. And he comes out, I walked in, he said, "Tuting," he said, "what you doing here?" I said, "I come to visit." "Oh, you're a long ways from home." But that was out in the Delta, and that was the life that I chose to live at that time. And I used to go out there, and that was on Saturday night. Saturday I was there. Sunday I went across to Big Jim's, see Hank and all those boys, up to Napoyak, to Sadie and Isaac's place at a place called Napoyak. And then from there, I used to mush my dogs back into Inuvik. I used to get home about midnight sometimes, on a Sunday night, midnight, or maybe sometimes probably even 1 o'clock in the morning. And I put my dogs away, and I was back at the school at 9 o'clock in the morning. Kwe naini, ilani lo, shulagaluk.